The NBA Finals have concluded, and sadly, the Boston Celtics are your 2024 NBA champions. But that means that it's time for another episode of the Before the Buzzer podcast. Boys, I know it wasn't the outcome I wanted, Cheyenne wanted. Alex seems pretty happy with it. Alex,
I'm
we'll go
pretty
to you.
happy, yeah.
How are you feeling? Now back in California, too. How are you
Yeah,
feeling? Or, well, you've
the
been in
right team
California.
won, in my
Survived.
opinion. Yeah.
Back home. We'll do an IRL stream with all three of us soon. Coming
Oh my
up.
god, bro. Yeah. Stay
But
tuned.
Alex, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good about it because this is exactly what I predicted. So I feel validated. For the first time in the postseason, something I've said has actually happened. So I'm pretty happy about that. Um, but yeah, they were the best team in the league the whole year. They deserve to win it. I like their players. So I'm pretty happy about it. But I know Lakers fans, you're all a bit put out. So yeah, Cheyenne, how you
Yeah,
feeling?
Cheyenne. Hey, Cheyenne, big Lakers news. We'll get to it later. But sad moment with the Boston Celtics getting to the 18 championships. By the way, if you guys watched the broadcast, did you notice like Mike Breen, like every chance he got was like, oh, the Boston Celtics have now become the NBA's leader with 18 championships. Oh,
Bro, I
man.
know they
What'd you
had to emphasize that.
what'd you make of that, Cheyenne?
Dude, I was just really sad, bro. I was really sad. I lost some bets, it's just
Why would you bet against them?
huh?
Why
I
would you
mean,
bet
I
against
picked
them?
I picked the
Straight up.
Mavericks from like the beginning of the postseason. Like, why would I switch up then? Like, I'm not
No,
like
I'm
you where
saying
like once the Nuggets lost, oh, I switched to the
you picked
Timberwolves,
them
I
from like
switched to
round
the
two,
Celtics.
okay?
What do you
That's
mean? I picked them
bullshit.
from the beginning.
You
No, there's
did?
video footage of this. Yeah, Adam
All
picked
right,
them
man.
from round two,
Okay,
but
cool.
Actually,
I I
to be
stuck
fair, I
with
was
my
the only
guy.
one who actually picked them as the top team. But I mean, I didn't want
What do
them.
you mean?
Anyways, if you want to go back to the handy tier list, who was number
Oh
one as your
no,
favorite?
no,
Who was
no,
number one as your favorite? I mean,
no.
I
The
literally
handy too.
picked them from the start. But anyways, um, obviously a lot to unpack here with that series. I think we left off after game two, and Dallas was definitely reeling. They made game two close. Um, but there was a lot of chatter about how this Dallas backcourt kind of played this series. I know Cheyenne was really confident in them, especially the dynamic, between Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. A lot of talk about Luka's defense, Kyrie's inability to create anything really offensively at an efficient level. What do you make of the way that Boston was able to defend them? And do you think that's something to worry about going forward, or do you think this was just a one series thing where they might have been tired? I think it's fair to say Luka was definitely battered and injured at this point. Not the same in terms of his quickness, but what do you make of the way that they played in this finals?
I mean, personally, like, I think it isn't really that big of a problem because they are a finals team. Like, they did a lot in the postseason to be happy with, and I think this is more about the role players not being able to step up and not being able to do their roles the same way they did against like OKC or Minnesota, where you kind of just leaving them Luka to kind of just take on the world by himself. And with Kyrie, like again, he really struggled this series, but then it was an awful matchup for him as we talked about, as well as the whole Boston psychological aspect of going into that city and having to perform, which he didn't the whole series. Um, so I wouldn't be that concerned if I was Dallas. Like this is still you still went from like an 8 seed at the trade deadline to a finals team. Like I think you'd be pretty happy with this, especially because you've seen kind of proof of concept with Luka, where you can be like a legitimate like contender with Luka as your centerpiece, and with Kyrie as your second option, which is what he's best at. I think Kyrie it's pretty clear at this point where he's always been a best second option, playing off of somebody, not being the lead guy. I think it's fair to say, but I think like they're in a good place, and I think you're going to see guys like Lively improve next year. PJ, I think he's signing an extension or something, right? Or he's under contract. Probably Derrick Jones Jr., but you can replace him. I think pretty easily. So they're in a good place to contend going forward, and I think they have a good roster, and they should be pretty happy with how this postseason went in general.
So Mavs management has said that they want to re-sign up to the top, 7 players, 1 through 7. Cheyenne, after watching this playoffs, I assume that means that Derrick Jones Jr. is probably coming back. And I think after watching the playoffs, like with the way that Kid ran the rotations, Josh Green is probably that 7th guy. So where do you think that they go from here as they try and not completely retool this roster, but just make some adjustments to, I mean, contend in a difficult Western Conference. We can all agree that the West is only getting tougher, and they obviously weren't good enough to beat Boston this year. So, what do you think that they do going forward to improve this roster?
Yeah, I agree with Rich. First of all, I do think they need better role players, and that it wasn't really all Luka Kyrie's fault. It's just like the way Boston was able to succeed. They had like five guys who could all like at some point like kind of get their own shot off. So I feel like the way that Dallas, they only could get a shot off with Luka or Kyrie doing something. So I feel like adding someone who could like create their own shot or create a shot for someone else, I feel like that would be really beneficial for them. Or we could see how Jaden Hardy develops. But I just think they need more scoring because when Luka and Kyrie had to do everything, the role players just couldn't step up. So I think that
Yeah,
was a
You know,
big difference.
it's funny that you guys are talking about like them needing to upgrade the role players, and Luka and Kyrie maybe not performing their best, but not having enough help obviously to get the job done. If you were to turn on ESPN or you turn on Sports Center, all that I was hearing, at least after game 2, was Luka Doncic just isn't, he's not a winning basketball player. Luka Doncic needs to do more defensively and stop, being a liability on defense. When have we ever held superstars to their play like on the defensive end? Like, I
I
don't
think we
understand
have,
how,
but
but
I
no,
thought that
but hold on. Brian Windhorst goes on Sports Center after the game and he says, "Oh, well,
that was game
that's the
three.
way
That was
the
game
locker room."
three, and that was
Yeah,
because of
yeah.
his like fouling and
After
shit.
game 3.
Yeah,
Well, no. That was game
that
Yeah,
was
I
game
think
three. That was game
no, it
three.
was game
that
three
was game
because he
two.
fouled out.
It was after game three when he fouled out because he was doing all the
No,
hacking and stuff. And he was
that
being
was
lazy.
game two in
I think
Boston.
it was both
Where
games, honestly.
no, I remember
Wait,
game
which
two
one?
in Boston. Game 2 in Boston. Brian Windhorst goes on Sports Center and says, "Well, Luka Doncic isn't a winning player. He's complaining." Oh
After
well,
game three.
he's
After game three.
okay after game 3. Anyways,
Yeah.
he's saying, "Oh well, Luka Doncic
Flex
isn't."
on him, Pritch. You were
Don't
right.
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. That game 3, Luka Doncic, the fouling was stupid. There were stupid fouls too at the end of the game. That was all his fault. But to sit up here and say that one game that he didn't play well defines that he's not a winning basketball player. What has Brian Windhorst held LeBron accountable for not playing defense at times and being lazy?
He
Like,
doesn't play defense. Yeah.
when I don't understand why everyone just wanted to hop on this like hate train of Luka Doncic just because he hasn't played good defense when this is probably the most tired he's ever. This is the longest he's ever played. People have to take that into account too. These Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, they've have experience playing this deep into the playoffs. This is only the second time Luka Doncic has played this far into the playoffs. He's obviously bruised and battered. You see his knee has been bleeding since like 3 months ago. I mean, the guy is like a turn bleeding out here. Like, when are we just gonna stop bashing on a guy that is at least a top 3 player in the league? That's pretty inarguable. For one aspect of his game, which let's be honest, Luka's improved on the defensive end this year. I think he obviously ran out of gas and wasn't good on defense. But Rich, why do you think that everyone started hopping on this hate train after the Mavs went down 3-0?
Well, there's a few things. I think part of it is that a lot of people hadn't seen Luka like as much, and then they're really seeing him and they're seeing him how he bitches the refs constantly, how he gets blown by like pretty much every possession against the Celtics. Like he was just getting exposed. Like I saw this like Twitter compilation. It was like 2 minutes long of just Luka just getting blown by. Like it was in the same game. Like that's there needs to be accountability for superstars, I think, as well. And maybe it was a bit harsh after one game, but it was like this is kind of who he is, and I think he is hurt. But he's never going to be someone who's going to like clamp up on that end. He's going to occasionally get a good play, like James Harden. Like James Harden wouldn't get good plays on defense. He played good post defense because he's big and he's chunky, but he was never a good defender. And he was never. You might be able to get these little clips where he's playing good defense, but he was never a good defender. Luka's never going to be a good defender. He doesn't have it physically in him. And I think there's no point trying to criticize the guy who's carrying the field offensively as well. That's the thing too. Like he's doing everything offensively for them. So I think he deserves a bit of leniency on defense, but he does need to still play a bit of defense too. Like it isn't like he needs to be active in the passing lanes, try and not get blown by every possession. Like that's the bare minimum for him. But personally,
Well,
I think this is more of a Kyrie problem. Like as a team, I think if you're going to blame anybody for the finals loss, it's probably Kyrie.
Yeah.
Just for his inability to really get over the hurdle in Boston.
Were you guys able to see Kyrie go on Twitter after the game and he posted
Oh
the most
yeah, he was
predictable
like
thing, the hella again? Like, bro, like
the
any
tribe.
like I don't get it, Cheyenne. What do you make of the way that Kyrie, not on the court, but off the court, handled this whole thing with Boston? I know a lot of people said, the Boston crowd would kind of mess with his head. I don't know if it really did, but it seemed like he was at least flustered, especially in the games where they were at Boston. What did you make of the way that he kind of handled this series?
I just feel like after each game, he would like have some like post game where it would be like, "Oh, we're gonna get the next one," something like along like those lines. Like I just felt like it was like too much talking. I feel like I'd rather have him just like show them that, oh, I'm about to take this game, but he didn't do that either. But so it's just like Kyrie. I feel like, especially at Boston, I feel like things felt a lot like more forced. Like he felt like he had to take way more dribbles than he needed. He gets clamped. He gets clamped by Jaylen Brown. Tries to go back at him again. Like I feel like he was just trying to like prove something more playing in Boston, opposed to like at
Yeah.
Dallas, where it seemed he played more freely and like
And you can see
naturally.
he was talking to the crowd and stuff too. Like he was engaging with the crowd. He was not in like a villain way necessarily, but it was clear that it was affecting him in some way. And I think you can see it became kind of when he had the ball, there was no more motion in the offense, there was no movement. It was just him kind of ISOing and like I think you can live with Kyrie ISOs as a good defensive game plan where he's gonna take our best perimeter defender 1v1 and we can get the efficiency on that isn't going to be good because it's an ISO. Like they just aren't efficient unless it's an elite guy on a bad defender. So that's something he just didn't really adjust his game to what they needed out of him. I mean, even in the OKC series, he really struggled offensively, but he was still effective and he still did good stuff. Like he played good defense. He
He
was a
playmaking.
connector offensively. Yeah, so even when he's not scoring, he still can be effective. He just wasn't effective. Everything just kind of got to his head, and I think he kind of this. Hopefully, he kind of figures it out because this is. I mean, this is the best we've seen out of him in like 6-7 years, pretty much since 2016 in the postseason. I mean, this is since that shot in 2016. He hasn't really done much in a postseason setting. He's just kind of being all over the place mentally and with whatever he's doing and stuff like that. So this is a good step for him to be effective and to be the second best player on the finals team. But I also want to officially say let's never discuss them as the two best guard like backcourt pairing in history again. That week on First Take was insane. Before the series when people were really talking about that. There's no way in hell. I mean,
I think
no.
a rephrase would have been helpful. If you want to talk about most skilled backcourt of all time, then maybe.
But is he that skilled? Is Kyrie really that? Kyrie's
What?
obviously very skilled. No,
Wait,
listen,
what?
but
Kyrie's like one of the most
Kyrie's like the
skilled
most
players.
skilled players ever.
Dude.
He can dribble. Okay, fine. His ball handling is one of the most skilled. But I think
No,
if
if
you
you
look at
talk
skill
about
as an
pure
offensive
skill,
player,
accolades, they're not even close to Clay and Steph. I mean,
yeah. But what I'm saying is like offensively,
but
like Kyrie has to play off of somebody to be effective. And I think like if you have to play off of somebody to be an impactful offensive player, then I feel like that kind of diminishes your skill a little bit. If the only way
Does
you
he
can
though?
score is by yes, I mean look at the way he's
A
being
lot of the time
when
he's
Luka wasn't in
creating
the
for
game.
himself though.
When Luka wasn't in the game, right in Game 3, when it was just him down the stretch, he couldn't do anything because he was they were throwing everything at him. He just couldn't handle it. But that's something like it kind of separates him from if you look at the tiers of current NBA players, I think that really separates him from like a Dame or something like that, right? Someone in that tier. He's probably like a top 25 guy, but like I don't think that was his moment if he wanted to really show he was still like a top 15 player. But like in terms of I think he's obviously very skilled at like dribbling and shit and getting hit tough shots, but I don't think he's the most skilled player ever. Like that's something people talk about. I don't think it's true.
yeah.
Because I think
Well,
in my opinion, the skill and the simplicity. I think the skill and simplicity in just getting easy shots. That's what Luka had. Luka just gets it. Yes?
Yeah.
Luka, look the way Luka plays offense, the way he just gets easy baskets. Right? That's skill. The way he handles pick and roll, that is skill. Kyrie isn't the same pick and roll player as Luka is. He just doesn't have that in his bag as much. That's skill as well. Like,
But also a lot of like Luka's like game, it's based off like him being like stronger than someone or like taller than like a smaller person. Like Kyrie can't control that. Like that's not
Well,
skill.
I think you look at a guy
He's more athletic though. He's faster.
like a 2018 James Harden. I mean, the way
Yeah.
that he's able to kind of combo what you're saying with Kyrie and also foul baiting
Yeah.
with Luca, I mean that's like the ultimate, mix of
Mix.
all that.
Yeah.
Kyrie's more of the insane ability to get to the basket and finish at different angles and off the backboard, underneath, spinning the ball, with his dribble moves that are arguably, the greatest dribble package of all
It
time.
is. I think it is. I think it's fair to say it is. He just
So I think that's a fair conversation to have. Obviously, they're not the greatest backcourt of all time. There's one in Golden State that won,
4
championships.
chips.
Anyways, before we get off the Mavericks, Alex, just one last kind of look at the roster. Is there any specific move that you would make? I know that let's just assume they bring back Derek Jones, PJ
I don't think
Washington.
they can because
keep
the
the top
salary. They're
7.
going to be over the cap. I don't think they can bring back Jared Jones under any circumstance. I think he's getting an MLE, like a mid-level exception.
All right.
I think
So
so let's just say I think they need to try and trade for a third scorer, someone who can just get baskets when they need to. I mean, Kuzma at the deadline, that's what they're going for, and he rejected the trade because he's a fucking idiot. So I don't think they'll be able to get Kuzma again, but a guy in that mold who can just score and create and just be another option, right? Because PJ wasn't really someone who can score on his own.
More of like
wing.
a big wing or a small wing?
More of a big wing, because I think the defense, I mean, just a wing, I think. Like, I think PJ he can be in between a big wing and a small wing, depending on what you need out of him. Where he's a bit of he's a stronger guy, but he's a bit undersized too. He can guard the smaller wings, but he can guard the big, whatever. It kind of depends, like whatever's available, right? Because getting a big wing who can score is pretty hard. Like,
I mean, there's one in Utah. I don't know if they can afford that, but
I don't think they can either. I mean, I think defensively that wouldn't work, just because
I don't even consider him a wing like that.
I mean, he is a wing. I mean, actually, it could work.
No,
but
he's like 7 feet tall.
It's Danny Ainge. I mean, I feel like he plays the 3. Danny Ainge, I think he would get
That's why they suck.
every single asset, possible out of it. And I think there's probably better packages elsewhere for Laurie. Sacramento would be a good shout for him, I think. Or even OKC. OKC, they could get all
right, but dude, we'll get to that. Oh, dude, they don't need anything more. All right, they can stop.
But I just think as a scoring wing, a wing can provide some tertiary offense. If a Kyrie or a Luka goes down, or balance the minutes out. So if they both need to rest for whatever reason, you have another guy who can score.
I think that this team, people have to remember this is a young team. Like they have good young people. I mean, there's footage of Derek Lively shooting 3-pointers. If they get that out of him,
that was wild. When I saw him take that in the game, bro.
The form is not bad. The form is not.
It was
bad.
good. It went.
He could shoot in the pre-draft stuff too. Like he had some shooting upside.
If he's able
familiar with his game,
and you think about the way that Jalen Hardy and Josh Green are coming along, I mean, this team can only be better going forward. I mean, we don't know how they'll fit in the Western Conference just because it's getting tough, but individually, this team should be theoretically better just because of how their young players are developing. But I think that's enough of the Mavericks. Got to get to the winners now. The Boston Rays banner 18.
White people. Hey,
all right. Let's just finish
cut that out, Adam.
I can't cut that.
You're caught. The wives of Boston are very happy they're not getting their ass beat tonight, bro. It's a good day for the Boston Blues.
Banner 18 for Boston. A lot of talk about Finals MVP. We'll get to that also, but the way that this team came together as a unit, pretty impressive. You look at guys coming off the bench like a Peyton Pritchard, like an O'Shea Brissett.
He didn't play, but
he didn't play.
Well, during the playoffs.
No, he didn't play in the playoffs. He didn't play in the playoffs.
Adam doesn't watch ball.
Sam Hauser.
No,
Sam Hauser. Fournette played a bit.
No,
Tillman played a bit.
Sorry. I meant to say Xavier Tillman.
Yeah.
Xavier Tillman. I'm sorry.
That's racist, bro.
Nice save,
Xavier
Adam.
Tillman. Xavier Tillman.
The one black guy off the bench.
Okay, they do look kind of don't they? I'm sorry. Whatever. Xavier Tillman gave them good minutes defending. You look at the way that guys, even like Drew Holiday and Derek White, sacrificed a little bit. I mean, these are guys that On other teams, probably like a second or third option. On Boston, they were like a fourth, third option, fifth option at times. Alex, what'd you make of the way that there was a lot of sacrifice on this team and everyone kind of bought in to Joe Mazzulla's game plan and vision, Brad Stevens' vision, really, for this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've been doing this whole year. This was their year to win it. I think if you look at the regular season, the roster they have, they had the most talent in the league by far, I think. And I think people were trying to talk themselves into these narratives about, oh, Luka could do it, or Jokic, or like Anthony Edwards can knock them off, like Minnesota. But at the end of the day, like they were the best team in the league by far in the regular season. And then the playoffs, they kind of, you can make comments about their run, but they were dominant and they did take care of business. I mean, they were 16-3 in the postseason. And if it wasn't for that weird loss to Dallas in Game 4, they would have had like an insanely good point differential when you're looking at like all-time playoff runs. So I think like overall, like it was they've been doing this all year. This is what we kind of expect from them. I think like this is they did their job. Like this wasn't anything to be surprised by, you know. And I think that it says a lot about Missoula, like being able to be this successful at such a young age. I mean, he's like 35.
Hold on, Alex. What were you saying about Joe Mazzulla like a couple weeks ago?
I was saying he's not a great coach, but I think he's a good coach. Like I think he's better than Kidd, like I talked about. Kidd really struggled in the series. But I mean, he didn't have much to go with. I gave him a break, but Missoula, like he showed, like this series was a good series for him. I think he's an NBA championship head coach. Like you got to give him some respect.
At 30, 35, 36?
35, yeah.
Really
almost
impressive.
36. So yeah. Yeah, like I think it's definitely for him, and I think if they can keep this going, he could be like a great coach because he's so young and he's already making so much progress considering his last year and everything he's kind of gone through as a coach. Like now he has his own staff, he has his own like infrastructure around him, he has his weird post game quotes. He's in a good place, and I think the whole roster, like they can, like everything fits really well. Like Porzingis, the development of him, I think you got the best case thing out of him. And even when he was hurt, you still like clinch a series, you know. And I think that trade is a trade you do 100 times again. You do the holiday trade obviously every time. And it was a great off season last season. They made the right adjustments and they deserve to win.
Yeah, Cheyenne. Interesting dynamic between Brown and Tatum this series. Really felt like Brown stepped up as the leader this series. I mean, I wasn't in the locker room, so I can't say officially that he's the guy that completely, took over the locker room. But from what I saw on the court, it looked like Jaylen Brown was sort of the leader. And Tatum had his moments. It's not fair to say Tatum, just completely disappeared this series. I mean, he had 31 points in Game 5. So
he was amazing in Game 5.
Yeah, I mean, interesting the way that they played off each other. What'd you make of that dynamic? And then the Finals MVP going to Jaylen Brown.
I mean, I think they played really well together. It seemed like they found like the perfect balance of what they've been looking for. Obviously, both of them are also sacrificing just because of everyone around them playing with Porzingis, Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Tatum. Tatum really impressed me, especially in Game 5, because he ended the half with like 8 assists, and then once they needed him, he started scoring a lot more in the second half, which was really good to see out of him. And he ended with like 31 points. And Jaylen Brown, I was impressed with him the whole series. Just the way he was playing defense on Kyrie and on Luka especially. I think he deserved the Finals MVP because their numbers were pretty similar. Shot a bit better than Tatum just because Tatum had a bad like first 2 games. And Game 4, I think it was. So, and I just think his defense was
I mean,
was so impactful.
His
So I think he
defense on
deserved it.
Luka was really impressive this series. I mean, just the moment where in Game 1, stripped Luka, took it the other way, slammed it home. I mean, that was like a we're here type of moment. Like he's not messing around this series. Anyways, in terms of, I don't want to put out a huge superlative and say who's the most responsible for this championship, but it's an interesting question to entertain. If you had to pick one person in the Boston organization that you think is most responsible for this championship, Alex, who is it?
Brad Stevens. I mean, he built the roster that was the best in the league by far. I mean, I think that's it. That's personally, I just think it's that. I don't think there's really an argument about it. I don't think any one of the players was responsible because I think it was it was one of those teams where everybody was just very, very good. They didn't have that top 3 star, but Tatum's a top 5 guy. I think he's definitely arguable to be a top 5 guy. I mean, he's first team All NBA last 3 years. Even if he doesn't play like it sometimes, he's a weird player because he doesn't exactly play as good as he is sometimes. Like the eye test doesn't really match up to how good he is with the stats he puts up. But yeah, I just think it was by far Brad Stevens for making the necessary adjustments, doing the hard trades like moving out Marcus Smart, trading Brogdon and Rob Williams for Holiday. And yeah, I think making those decisions and really believing in this team, and also hiring Joe Mazzulla as well. I think sticking with them after a bad first year, where a lot of people were kind of calling for his head. But he's really turned it around and really figured it out as a coach. So I think Brad Stevens by far is the architect for this.
Isn't it crazy how Brad Stevens was coaching Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown just a few years ago? And we thought they were going to get done with him, and it ends up being him being the GM, having to go make the roster himself so that they could go win a championship. Cheyenne, is it the same answer for you? Or
yeah, it's Brad Stevens. It's Brad Stevens.
So I proposed this question thinking that at least one of you guys would say something else so that I could say Brad Stevens also. It is Brad Stevens.
No, bro, you made it too obvious. You were like in the organization.
Yeah, I should have said on the team. Anyways, I mean, what'd they even give up for Porzingis? Didn't they got 2 first?
They got Marcus,
Marcus. It was a 3-team trade. Marcus Smart went to Memphis. Tyus Jones went to Washington. And I think they gave up the first and they got 2 first, something.
If you take up the heartfeltness of, Marcus Smart leaving Boston, I mean, that's like one of the greatest trades of all time. I mean, the way that they gave up a player that, let's be honest, Marcus Smart, he's a solid player, defensive player of the year caliber player. But
the budget Drew Holiday
to get Porzingis, we saw just how impactful he was. They won every game that an injured Porzingis, was on the floor in the finals, and the way that he affected the team in the regular season as well. It might, one championship, but could kickstart a dynasty here. Don't want to see it, especially as a Lakers fan. But now going forward, I know we don't want to look too far ahead, but is it just about maintaining this roster? Are there any moves you would make? And obviously they might have to let a few guys go, maybe eventually guys command more money. But Alex, how do you think that Brad goes about keeping this roster together for the next few years and maybe looking to add a piece here or there?
I mean, I think it's just getting good pieces in the draft, trying to, get some value off the bench, just continuing to kind of build the team out. I think with the salary cap going up, going forward, going next year and stuff, I think you definitely have a lot of flexibility, and I think they can definitely contend. And I think this seems like an organization where people want to be a part of it. I wouldn't be surprised if the Vets join on minimums, try and bring Chase or whatever. But because they're a really good team, and I think it's a really good culture that Mazzulla has put in, and it's a really accountable culture where there's no real selfishness. The dynamic between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, I think, is really important. I think, because it seems like they both see each other as the co-stars to each other rather than just one beat, rather than number one, number two. And I think that's really important because they both respect that. And they Jason Tatum seemed really happy for Jaylen Brown when he got his MVP. It just seems genuine, and it seemed like that's something that doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter to it doesn't, that kind of dynamics don't matter in the locker room, which is really important, I think. And I think they're going to have a long time to contend. And I think a lot of it is just going to be managing personalities and making sure everyone's happy and content, and yeah, they're going to be in a good place, I think, going forward.
Yeah, I mean, you look at how, this team is still young. It's crazy, but they have good young pieces with Tatum and Brown. Those guys are not old at all. And they don't really have anyone that's exceptionally old on this team, besides maybe Drew Holiday, who's getting up there in age, and he's been a vital piece for them this season.
And he just signed an extension,
So they're set up pretty well for the future, as long as Joe Mazzulla doesn't pull a Ime Udoka and gets caught up in it there.
Stay with the interns, Joe.
I think they'll be fine. Wrapping up here with the Boston championship, I know as Lakers fans, it's hard to say, I'm happy for really anyone in that organization. But Cheyenne, is there anyone you were happy to see win a championship?
No.
Big Al Horford.
Big Al got
Big
his.
Al
All right,
over.
maybe Big Al, but like, no, not really.
Hey,
I understand. Alex, I know you
I
have a
mean,
couple
okay.
answers you could say for this one.
Yeah, Porzingis, very happy for him. He's finally be able to figure it out a bit and be in a good situation, and he's won. He's getting his revenge on Dallas too for the way they kind of treated him there. Peyton Pritchard, my guy. There's 2 half court shots. I mean, that's his role. Like that's what he's great at. He's just good at hitting those fucking momentum shots.
How many did he hit? 3, 2 or
He had
3?
2. He had 2 in the series.
Two.
Yeah, but he hit one
Yeah.
like
Stupid.
earlier in the series, like before. But yeah, he's that guy. I mean, he subs in like for the first time in the first half with like 4 seconds left, and he just gets the ball off of like a missed free throw or something. I think Luka missed, and then he just chucks one up and it goes in. Like it's crazy.
Stupid.
But yeah, and then who else? I mean, I'm just happy for Tatum. You know, I think this is good for him. He always had this crazy potential. He's only 19 as well. Like he has so much room to grow as a player and to really be elite. But seriously, like but I'm happy for the whole team. Honestly, I think they all deserved it. I'm happy from Stevens too because
I am shocked. I am shocked. You had a chance to say Derek White and say that Derek White has one
Derek White.
championship and
I said
Trae Young
everybody.
has 0.
That is true. Yeah, I mean, the Derek White agenda will never end. You know, I think this is
There's a
proof of
common
that,
theme
but
between most of the players he listed too.
I listed Jason Tatum.
Yeah, wait. Oh, I mean, he's half.
Yeah.
Half.
Even Derek
Okay.
White too.
Yeah, that's not fair. Okay,
Anyway,
yeah, I mean,
Drew
that's not
Holiday,
roster
no
White.
Jalen Brown, no Al
For
Horford.
me,
No, I'm
for
happy
me
for
at
that. That's
least.
how.
Hold on. Alex, you can finish up, and then I'll go.
Okay. Now go ahead. I know that.
Oh, okay. Well, Drew Holiday, UCLA guy. I was impressed by the way that he was able to sacrifice during this playoffs. I mean, I knew that he would be willing to take on the role, but just to see it happen, see him make winning plays and bring winning to that organization, kind of sad. I mean, he's an LA guy turned Boston. What? Like, that's not cool. Peyton Pritchard, too. Former Oregon Duck, Pac-12 guy. Just a gritty guy, man. Bring your lunch
Gritty.
pail and get to work type of guy.
First one in the gym, last one out. type
First
of
one
guy.
in the gym, last one out type of guy. Good for him.
Sneaky athletic.
Grabbing a ring. Didn't know if it was going to happen, really. He seemed like a guy that, could just be a good college player and fizzle out in the NBA, but gets the job done. Attaboy Pritch.
Yep.
Anyways, all
There's
right.
something I want to talk about real quick. I want to
before we
pose
finish
a little
up,
question. Okay, yeah. So this is the 18th Celtics ring, which put them obviously one above the Lakers franchise.
You're like Mike Breen.
I
just
would like
gotta
to make
bring
an
it up
argument
again.
that the Minneapolis Lakers, those rings should not count in this discussion because it's in a different city. It's a different. It was before the shot clock. It was all in the 50s. I don't think that should count. I think the
All right,
Lakers
then
are 12 rings.
I would like to
Okay,
make
then
an
let's just take
argument
away
that half
every
the
Boston
Celtics, like,
championship. Yeah.
No, it's because they weren't in. No, it's because
there were like
in
8
LA.
teams in the
thing.
NBA when they
Yeah.
won, though.
The
The
Lakers,
Lakers,
are
there's
like
8
one of
when the
like,
Lakers.
but okay, here's the thing: the Lakers are like one of like the original like 8 or.
But they weren't in. Yeah, in Minnesota.
Okay,
It
but
was
you're
5,
taking
I
away
think.
from the
That's the whole point.
Lakers'
Something like
history
that.
if you take away their
It's
championship.
not their history. It's the Minnesota history. The Minneapolis Lakers history.
They still kept the name.
No, bro, you were talking about before
They
the
didn't
shot
change
clock.
the name.
The Minneapolis, yeah, that was 56. Shine. All the wins are after the shot clock for the Celtics.
Bro, but there were like 8 NBA teams.
Yes,
I
no,
mean,
they were
in
like
my
That doesn't
opinion-
count, bro.
In my
8
opinion,
NBA teams, that doesn't count.
if you want to start invalidating championships, I would invalidate.
No, but they weren't in the city. They weren't the Los Angeles Lakers when they won the ring. But that's
I
not
get
fair.
it, but I mean, they still kept.
There's only
the
one
same-
banner in this. In the
It's
in
part
the
of the.
crib.
What?
There's only one banner, right? It's only one banner. It's just that has all the championships from the Minneapolis team.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Like
No, yeah. I
it's
get
not.
it.
It's not your history.
It doesn't feel like LA, but I'd rather have our history feel like it actually happened recently than, happening in the Stone Ages, But
Yeah,
congrats
okay.
on
I mean,
The civil
Boston
rights
finally
movement.
Boston finally beat the allegations by winning a championship in our era. Well, I guess they won in 2008. Anyways,
but what have the Lakers done since about 2011?
we won a championship in 2020, bro.
I'm trying to win a bubble ring.
We
Bubble
the
ring.
first
They won
the
a
first team to win an
Mickey Mouse.
in-season championship of all time.
They
Yeah,
won
if
a
you think
Mickey
about
Mouse
it.
ring, bro. That's it.
What do you mean Mickey Mouse ring? It's a ring. What?
It was in Florida. It was a Mickey Mouse ring.
How's it a
I mean,
Mickey Mouse
everyone
ring?
had to go through the
Everyone
same
says it's like the
conditions. I don't
hardest ring
understand.
ever, bro.
It was a Mickey Mouse. It was in Disney. It was a Mickey Mouse.
If
ring.
you think about it,
But
it was
every
it was
player
literally the
from the
most
bubble, they're
pure.
like, this is the hardest ring
If you
ever.
if you
Most
think about it,
pure form of basketball.
yes. If you think about it, it was the most.
It was a
pure
Mickey
No
Mouse
distraction,
ring.
just straight.
No,
hoops.
shut the fuck up.
It was
No.
literally just straight hoops.
It was a
They
Mickey
had
Mouse
nothing
ring.
else to describe. Mickey. The only thing Mickey Mouse about it was the championship parade at Disneyland, bro. I mean, damn, like
Yeah, the
They
whole
left
thing was
QC.
Mickey.
They left QC at the hotel.
they left Queen Cook at the hotel. No, at the stadium, man. Oh my gosh, bro.
It was a Mickey Mouse ring,
Yes.
bro. It's still a ring, but it's like
Anyways,
from a cultural perspective.
more valid than a Boston ring in the '60s, dog.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get back to basketball here. And I guess we're going to stay on the topic with the Lakers because new head coach for the Lakers, JJ Redick, finally happened. Kind of feels like he was the last option. Don't really know how to feel about this, Cheyenne. He's a guy that I look at and say, listen, from a schematic standpoint, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll actually be better offensively because when Darvin Ham goes on the board, he doesn't draw out plays. He writes out like sentences and
Play
like,
defense.
play defense, hustle. Like, all right, Darvin, like
Effort.
dance. I think schematically they'll probably be better. From a game management perspective, he's gonna have to grab some good assistant coaches because to not have any coaching experience.
Yeah, LeBron's going to
concerning.
be the assistant coach. LeBron is going to coach his team.
But it's hard. It's hard when you're
LeBron.
on the floor to manage, clock and time and.
Yeah, sure. He's going to be an
decisions like
assistant.
that.
Yeah, he's going to be an assistant.
No,
He's gonna
but
draw up the plays.
I'm saying
choose the offense.
I'm saying I would
run
at
practice.
least I would at least bring on one former head coach, and I would have multiple guys that are very experienced. I mean, it could even be guys that haven't been a head coach but are top assistant coaches elsewhere. Yeah. I think you need those guys to help you set a game. I mean, even like setting a game plan, like it's different from being a player, and looking at the game plan to actually being the guy to set up a game plan, set up a practice routine, set up all that. He hasn't done or dealt with any of that. And, it's kind of tough to figure it out as your first job being an NBA head coach. I mean, I would coach the summer league team if I were him, at least to get those reps. But Cheyenne, what do you make of JJ Redick being hired and this transition that he's going to have to make to being the Lakers' next head coach?
Well, I'm going to try to start off the season, look at it with more of like an open mind. I don't want to just be like hating on him from like the jump, like just be like, oh, he will never be a good coach. He'll be terrible. Like, I'm not just going to go in thinking that, like, that's stupid. Like, I'm going to give him a chance. Then from what I see, I'll like form an opinion on whether he's a good or bad coach. But like, dang, man, dang.
Me and him have the same coaching experience. I've coached better kids than he has. His only coaching experience he has is coaching fourth graders, and now he's an NBA head coach. A head coach. It's not going to work. Like he's just going to be LeBron's puppet. He's going to have LeBron's hand up his ass the whole time. Like this is something. It's not going to work because he's going to have the chance to actually express himself as a coach. He's going to have, if he hires an older assistant, that assistant's going to become the head coach. It's going to be like in fucking Milwaukee, where Adrian Griffin just loses the respect of his players because the assistants are just better than him, and they just think, oh, he's a young coach.
One thing to say, there is, a feeling of no one's gonna respect JJ. Well, we know LeBron. I don't know if you consider that respect.
Like
JJ.
It's not respect though. It's like it is. He doesn't respect him as his own coach. He respects him as his friend and has a basketball mind. But as a coach, as somebody to say, I need you to do this. You need to lock in. You need to play defense. Like that. That's when it changes. That's when the dynamic.
I think he somewhat respects him. For the other players, I don't know. Apparently, hey, Alex doesn't want to believe this,
like
but
38.
the hire was made based off AD and his projection going forward. I don't know if this is the right guy for AD. I think this actually benefits guys like Austin Reeves and Max Christie.
Benefits LeBron the most. I mean, it's a hire for LeBron and Bronny.
I don't think it.
LeBron
had no impact on. I believe that he had no impact on the hiring process. But, yeah, I mean, let's be honest. This was kind of a last option here. To start with, there weren't a lot of great head coaching candidates available. I mean, Dan Hurley wasn't even really available. That was just like this is great opportunity that I might have to leave UConn. And I mean, he thought about it. I don't want to throw Andrea Hurley under the bus, but I mean, she didn't help.
You know, he did that. That was. It's just he's trying to get an extension from UConn. Okay, he was never going to go to LA.
Yeah, I mean, there's theories
Woj
about
wrote books about his dad.
that too. There's theories about that too.
Dad, of course, they work together to make sure he get more money. Woj gets a good story. That's just, it's obvious. Like in my opinion,
man.
It's like he was never going to go to LA.
Working for months. Lakers have been working for
Sure,
months.
they have. Yeah.
Anyways, back to how this fits with JJ. I'm not a fan. I wasn't a fan of the hire. I'll just say that. But I'll acknowledge I didn't really see a pathway for them to do anything really better. It's kind of unlucky. I don't think you're really gonna sit up here and tell me JJ Borrego,
a legitimate
James Borrego would have been like
a legitimate NBA head coach who's coached AD.
But he's like a legitimate bad NBA coach.
He is. He was good in Charlotte. He got them to the play-in.
Wasn't.
You know how bad the Charlotte
LaMelo brought them into the play-in.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, who made him good? Who made him better? He had a good system around him.
Not him. He kept him on the bench half his rookie season.
He doesn't play defense. He didn't play defense.
Bro, he played Devontae Graham over him. Devontae Graham wasn't playing defense.
Hey, Devontae Graham
18 a game that year.
Not that year. It's the year before he did. But no, LaMelo was better than him.
No.
Check the stats, bro. Do your research. Do your homework, little buddy.
Man, shut the fuck up.
Do your homework.
Borrego's a good coach. I really rate Borrego. Like, I think Borrego was a lazy hire to go for Redick, in my opinion, because it's just, what do you want, LeBron? I want JJ. Okay, bet. Let's get JJ.
No, I don't think it was.
It's a lazy hire.
I think it was I think they were looking for upside here. I think they're kind of hoping that JJ can develop into something that's, a little bit more.
They're trying to contend now. They're trying to win now. Why are they looking for pure upside when you have?
Well, once again, the hire was
LeBron, you kind of
off of AD's future. Alex doesn't want to believe it.
He's like 30. He's like 30 years old. What?
30 is not
He's
that
not going to get much better. How old is he? He was 2012 draft. 2012 draft.
No, I'm saying 30 is not that old. Was he 31?
He's a big man. He's a big man. He's 31. He's a big man, okay? Big men they don't age amazingly, as we know. He's someone a lot of his game is built off of athleticism, right? Where he's this amazing defensive player. He doesn't have the same offensive touch he used to have with his shooting, right? I think he's not the future of your franchise. You don't have a future. You're contending. You're trying to contend.
No, you're good. Keep going.
What?
No, I was pointing at Cheyenne.
Oh, okay. On my screen, it was like you're going like that, and I was like, the fuck? But
yeah, I thought you were pointing at like Casey.
Yeah, I was like, shit, is a Casey feature?
Another one you're midway through?
No. I will get someone will be on after the draft next week, so stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
But
the draft is next.
It's on Thursday, yeah. I might live stream it. We'll see.
So I'm not gonna watch it.
I'll just sit at home for like 4 hours and just fucking live stream it, I guess. We'll see.
On what?
On TikTok, maybe. I don't know. Probably TikTok.
For the buzzer account.
Yeah, go follow. But
not Pritch, let's just hop like on an Instagram live.
But yeah, what was I saying? I was saying about fucking Adam. Oh, okay, I was saying, yeah, AD is in the future of your team. You don't really have a future. That's the whole problem with the Lakers organization. You have no picks. You have no real young players. You have Austin Reeves, but Austin Reeves doesn't have like all NBA potential or anything.
Hey, did you
he's
hear
a very good role player.
In 2024, 2025. This is our year. This is our year. Kept the receipts of the third star stuff.
He could be a third star, but he's not gonna be like a 1 star, is he? Like he's a very good player. He's a great third option, I think. But he isn't exactly somebody that you want to build a franchise around. And I don't think they have any young players. If they use their picks on Bronny, then they're not gonna have anyone like who's really gonna be a star going forward. Like they're kind of all in on this team, and this team sucks. So like you kind of need a coach to get the best out of that, rather than an inexperienced coach who has no coaching experience in the NBA.
By the way, the Lakers
or any coaching experience.
NBA history to go to the Western Conference Finals with pretty much the same a couple of different pieces, but for the most part the same roster. And for Pritch to just say they suck is like kind of insane. Like,
they do suck. Yeah. So did you watch the last season?
How do you go from like a couple of games from the NBA Finals to they suck? And it's pretty much
they lost to Denver, who lost to Minnesota, who lost to Dallas.
Whoa. We're gonna do that.
I'm just saying,
who lost to? Like that is. What do you mean?
Saying you cannot like the whole season they were struggling.
Okay, to say
they're older. They're going to
say they suck is hyperbole. That's hyperbole. They still have LeBron and Anthony Davis.
40-year-old LeBron James. Like he's 40. Like in regular season, not gonna be good. And then
And
playoffs,
once again,
he's gonna
Alex is
break
on the
down.
train of LeBron's is gonna get
He's
old.
40 years old. Like,
He's proving him wrong
come
every
on.
You said the same thing at 35,
every
my boy.
turn.
I didn't say that. I didn't say it at 35. I said it at 39.
You said at
He's-
37.
You can't expect him to be the best player on a championship team at this age. You just physically cannot. He has to go to somewhere where he's like the second or the third option or like a connector offensively, like Bird was at the
LeBron
end of
will
his
never
career.
be the.
Exactly,
I'm just gonna
that's
put
the
that out
problem. Exactly. Maybe that's why he's not going to win again. But he needs to be a connector. He needs to be a guy who plays. He's just because he's this elite offensive talent, but like one of the smartest guys we've ever seen. So if he's ever going to win a ring, he can't be the main guy. He has to be someone who connects players, who play makes, averages like 10 assists a game. You know what I mean? And something like that,
Rich,
something along those lines.
He already does that.
Yeah. Again, but like
he does that with the scoring.
yeah, but the scoring's going to tail off. I mean, he has to maintain the passing. He has to keep that has to be his game going forward. But I mean, for me, Lakers, they're just not a good team. They're just a very flawed basketball team. I don't know what you do to really like become a contender. Like, what do you think they do? Like, you're not getting a superstar in the trade market.
Here's the thing.
All right,
Cheyenne,
all right. Let me
Cheyenne,
map
I'll let you
out
go first
everything-
before you head out,
yeah.
Cheyenne. Give us the closing piece.
All right. I'll tell you exactly what the Lakers do to win the championship. All right. So move LeBron back to the point guard. The last time they won the chip. All right.
Who's he guarding? Who's he
Thank
guarding?
you.
Who's
I've
LeBron?
been saying this for
Hey,
so long. Can we just
listen,
move
listen.
LeBron back to the point?
Hey, listen. Then you bring back everyone from that roster. Bring back Danny Green. Bring back Quinn Cook. Dwight Howard. Bring back Rondo.
Dion Waiters. Dion Waiters is back.
Bring JR. Bring him back.
The what? The
Any
what?
guy.
Straight
We
from
never
China.
run that team back, bro.
JaVale.
We gotta
JaVale
run him
McGee's
back.
Parkes from Sacramento.
Exactly. Bring
No, but
everyone
seriously,
back.
LeBron can't be a point guard anymore.
so
He has to be
that
a point
was
forward.
your
I guess
actual answer.
Reeves will have to be our Caruso. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get to that. That was sad. But
The Lakers aren't contending
way.
under any circumstances unless they trade for like Mitchell or something.
Time for my salute. All right. So guys, this has been, I'd say, about 2022. Oh, Cheyenne's heading out. Say something to the viewers so they can actually see you.
Bye, guys. Good episode.
Love you.
Have a good sesh, guys. See y'all.
Nice edge sesh.
Sesh
right.
is like a weird way to put this.
All right, podcast. I meant. My bad.
Sesh.
All right. All right. See you, Shane. Okay. So I'd say from 2022, 2020, like the past like 2 seasons, really Westbrook era and this year. Lakers obviously have not been anything close to what they were in 2020. I would say 2021, like that roster was not bad. I think they were just injured that year. Were they 21-6, 1 seed in the West before kind of injuries started piling up? But that wasn't a bad team. I think if they stay healthy, maybe they don't win a championship, but they're at least contending for sure. But Rob Pelinka really has some questions that he needs. And
He sucks at his job.
And Kurt Rambis and Linda Rambis. There's a lot of people that have power over there.
Yeah.
We don't know half of the people that do have power. Rich Paul has power over there. Who really has the power? We don't know.
LeBron is the
power over here. But to say that, Rob Pelinka has been disappointing would probably be an understatement. I mean, the way that they've gone about constructing this roster has been concerning, to say the least. Wouldn't you say, Alex? I mean,
yeah.
We were, hyping up them signing Carmelo Anthony and guys like Troy Daniels and guys like Troy Brown, where it's like, I mean, you're making these guys like starters. Like Taurean Prince was signed to be a starter this year.
Yeah.
Like we saw, he's good off the bench. He's decent off the bench, but certainly concerning. I mean, they gave big contracts to Rui and Reeves, and I don't think that they were what they expected this season.
I mean,
Definitely
Reeves, the Reeves contract is a great contract, I think. It's like
Reeves
for like 4 years.
I think, was decent because there were a lot of other suitors, and they didn't pay him a lot. Rui, probably less.
Yeah, Rui,
suitors,
I don't know who they were bidding against for Rui, yeah.
and feels like they way overpaid him at this point. I don't know if Rui Hachimura is a starting caliber player in the NBA. really concerned by the way he played in the playoffs. I mean, just no sense of urgency, no aggressiveness. I like the Rui that just like puts his head down. Sometimes he charges, other people, but just puts his head down, aggressively attacks the basket, and somehow turns around and makes the mid range. Like that's the Rui I like to see, and I didn't see that at all. Playoffs. I don't know if that's a Darvin Ham thing. Maybe the coaching figures it out a little bit, but the way that they've gone about building this roster they've lost all of their defense, really. I mean, they went from, think about like that stretch of the Lakers winning the championship the year after. That was like one of the best defensive teams in the league, arguably the best, like top of the league, to where now they're a bottom 5 defense in the NBA. Maybe the worst defense in the NBA, like during the playoffs.
And you can't shoot. Yeah.
And the thing that they haven't been able to figure out the whole time while Rob Pelinka is there, they can't shoot. I mean, this year, I think it's fair to say the shooting was improved. I think.
So, Adam, you think they're a contender when they can't play defense and they can't shoot?
Well, you beat me to the punchline. Rob Pelinka has not been able to figure out any shooting in his time with the Lakers. The reason that they won the championship was guys that traditionally weren't shooters stepped up, and somehow Rajon Rondo and Alex Caruso were hitting threes, to be their shooters. But the fact that you can't find any shooting and you can't find any defense in the past couple of years, I mean, how do you expect to win ball games? And to say that, I mean, I guess their drafting has been decent because, they not the past couple of years. I'm saying, when you took a guy like Julius Randle, D'Angelo, like those were decent draft picks because you were able to turn them into Anthony Davis, right? Lonzo Ball able to turn it into Anthony Davis. But I mean, some of the picks they've made over the past couple of years, never mind the fact that they traded all of their draft picks to start with. I mean, they gave up so much to go get Anthony Davis. I think everyone agrees they gave up too much to get Anthony Davis. But the draft picks in recent years, kind of concerning. I mean, does Rob Pelinka even know what he's going for? Like home run picks with Max Christie and Jalen Hood Schifino, like trying to project. Yeah. He's trying to like outsmart everyone by picking these guys that, we project that he'll be really good. Max Christie is a nice looking jump shot. We're going to turn him into a 3-and-D guy. Like it feels like there's no direction with this team. There's no acknowledging of these are our faults, so we're going to go attack those faults. It's like, well, I'm going to go get good because Rob Pelinka, he's the biggest believer in guard play. I'm going to go get these guards that I think will overperform their contract. I think Gabe Vincent will overperform a $10 million a year contract, which can't even think for. I mean, that was Rob Pelinka's probably his biggest mistake this past offseason. But it feels like Rob Pelinka's a guy that's trying to outsmart everyone and is constantly just coming up short to where they're not providing anything around Anthony Davis and LeBron. And you just got one of your best years out of that duo to come up, being gentlemen swept in the first round after you get one of the best years of that duo. Really concerning because that's roster construction. That's your decision to hire a guy like Darvin Ham. That's all on the top of the organization. I don't really know where they go from here if they keep Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss. Alex, what do you make of the way that the team is being run and how they get out of this pit?
I mean, the team is being run very well, as it's been very clear, as you said. Like, it's just, I mean, it seems like there's so many scapegoats in the Lakers organization, mostly coaches, but you have players as well. You have Westbrook, you have LeBron to an extent as well. Like, you have so many guys that have just been criticized or have everything been their fault. But it's always been the management's issue. It's always been the roster construction. You're putting play-in rosters out there on the court and saying, "Okay, win me a ring." Like it was never going to happen. Like this is a thing. There's a limit to how well a team can overperform. There's a limit to the LeBron effect. Like he's good. He's not that good. At least not at this stage in his career. And even when he was great, like no player can drag a team of that caliber to a ring, which is why I don't think they can contend because the roster construction is so poor, and there's no real way for them to pull off some crazy trade. Now it's the Lakers, so you can pull up some free agent or something, maybe get some kind of move like that, a sign and trade. I don't know, but But yeah, it's a really bad situation, I think, for the Lakers. There's no real direction, which is why I don't know why JJ took the job, because it doesn't exactly fit his like.
Well, I mean,
It just
it's
seems,
the he's the guy
yeah,
that's
it's the worst job in basketball.
before, and they gave him the Lakers head coaching job. I mean, that's
It's
a
the
pretty
worst.
big jump. I mean, I would
Yeah,
take it if I were JJ.
and he's making so much doing his sports media stuff. It's like one of the best. I mean, he's just at the
True.
finals.
I think
Like-
if you wanted to argue that he could have stayed in broadcasting and really developed there, then you have a valid point. But if he wants to get into coaching, I mean, a guy that's coached only a fourth grade team being offered the Lakers NBA head coaching job, I mean,
Yeah.
this is my opinion
Yeah.
for JJ.
I mean, I understand why he took the job, but I don't think it was the right job for him. I feel like if he wanted to really be a good head coach, he should have gone to a smaller market team where he could really learn and develop as a coach, and then maybe he makes the jump to the Lakers. Maybe he's an assistant somewhere first. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem right to me. This whole thing.
I think that's more
but-
on the Lakers than JJ. I mean,
Yeah, I mean-
they're the guy hiring the guy that's never been an assistant coach or a head coach before. I mean, JJ's like, I mean, if you're going to offer me the job, I'll take it, you know? Like, I get what you're saying. It's probably not the best fit for him, like, in terms of maturing as a coach. He's going to have to mature really fast and learn a lot of things within, you know, a first year of coaching. But I don't think that any of this is really on JJ. And what sucks is they might not be good this year. And there will be some fingers pointed at JJ, but they weren't the ones that he didn't hire himself. Someone had to go hire him. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think this starts from the top, and maybe they don't start winning again until changes start coming from the top. So I'll leave it at that. A lot of things to unpack with the Lakers going forward this offseason. Of course, we'll be monitoring it, especially the draft coming up, because let's be honest, they don't have a ton of moves to make just because of the way they're set up with the cap. So that draft pick is going to be really big. And judging by Rob
Bronny.
draft history, you know, not super excited to see what he does. Anyways, let's move off the Lakers, get to a former Laker, guy I wanted on the Lakers. Alex Caruso gets traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder in what can only be described as a fleece. I mean, let's be honest.
It's a
Chicago might be a bottom 3 run organization in like all of sports.
No, it's
like,
the worst. It's the worst.
What are they
worst.
doing? Oh, I said all of sports. I mean, you think there's the worst in all of sports? I mean, there's some baseball teams.
It's a conversation. I mean, the A's, maybe the A's. I don't know much about baseball.
The A's
but,
are.
I mean,
the A's are run worse. But
okay.
Chicago. I mean, if you want to look at this thing, you know, in a vacuum, all of the trades and moves that they've made in the past couple of years, they're kind of stuck. They're stuck in this, you know. Well, they had that one off season where they went crazy and they brought
That
in
was like 3 years ago.
And
That was 2021.
I'm saying they're stuck now in this place of they're not moving off pieces at the deadline to where they're not getting worse or they're not getting better. So they're kind of stuck in this like 11, 10 seed spot where they're making the play-in tournament and losing. They're not. There's no direction here. So I think it's actually good to see them go in a direction, moving off Caruso. Everyone expected them to move off Caruso. But what do you make of them getting only Josh Giddey, especially with a team that they traded with OKC that has unlimited draft picks, and they didn't get a single one packaged with Josh Giddey? Rumors that they could have got first-round picks for Caruso.
At the trade deadline, they were offered 2 first-round picks, one of which became a lottery pick this year. It's insane to me because it just reeks of laziness and incompetence from the front office. It's like an inability to like negotiate or to really get the best value out of your assets. It's like you're trying to fucking screw over the team because you could have gotten Giddey and they would have given Giddey like 1 or 2 first-round picks because they have so many. And if they don't, just be like, okay, we'll move on. And Giddey isn't that good.
Someone else would have gave you a first-round pick, you know?
Yes. And like Giddey, like you might believe in his upside, but Chicago is not the player for his upside because they have no space.
Hey, Woj said he's a potential all-star.
All-star, yeah. Hey, the Giddey party. Chicago wanted to go to the Giddey party, but I don't know if they should. I mean,
ain't no party like a Giddey party.
Like a Giddey party. Word is bond. But man, like it's just they're screwed. I feel bad for Kenny Beecham, a big Chicago Bulls fan. I watched his video yesterday where he goes through like every stage of grief, talking about the pod,
Yeah,
from
I
the
saw.
trade.
I
Like,
saw at the end of the night, he was like, "It's fine, guys. It was a good trade." Like,
yeah,
you
it's
know, like
he's trying
it's
his best.
insanity. You know, how do you think that? We'll start with the Chicago side of Giddey fitting in. I mean, it feels like they just have unlimited guards. They can never pick up anyone except for a
Yeah,
guard. How do you he fits in next to? I mean, Kobe White, Zach
Kobe White
Levine.
just was like he was most
I
improved,
mean,
right? He won most improved, and then
yeah, I mean, Kobe
so
White
what you're doing is you're taking
this
a guy
season.
who needs the. You're taking Kobe White. You're taking the ball out of his hands to go put it in an unproven Australian guard, um, who just was unplayable in the playoffs. It's like, is this really like what you want to do as a franchise? It just seems ridiculous to me. And it's like, are they going to trade Kobe? I hope they don't, because he's been great for them. So I don't know, man.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
seems so stupid to me.
it's a weird fit on the Chicago side. Going over to the OKC side seems like it's a great fit.
It's perfect. Yeah.
A lot of suitors for Alex Caruso. I know that there were a lot of teams that were in win now mode, like the Sixers, Lakers, couple other teams involved that were trying to pick up Caruso, give up a few first round picks. Instead, OKC gets rid of a piece that, frankly, they were going to move on from anyways.
Yeah. He like no
And get
value in the league.
Caruso. I think there's
Yeah. He
probably
lost all his value in the
I think
postseason.
there's probably a big three of GMs right now. I think it's probably Danny Ainge, Brad Stevens, and Sam Presti. I mean, Sam Presti
Yeah.
did a really good job of constructing this roster, and now they have a ton of draft picks. How do you think that Caruso fits into this lineup next to a guy like Lou Dort, SGA, all the guys they have in that backcourt?
Yeah. It's a perfect fit. He doesn't really need the ball. He can play off the ball. He can shoot. He can play amazing defense. I mean, a potential defensive lineup of like Caruso, Shea, Casey Wallace, Dort, and Holmgren, and then you put Jalen Williams into any of those guys. That's insane. That's that's by far the best defensive lineup in the league, even better than Boston, arguably. Um, and then you have shooting. Like, this is a perfect addition, and to like, and you're losing. Like, he was a player that he was worse. Like, he was actively hurting them on the court. Like, they were worse when he was on the court. They were better when he was off. This is a factual thing. So to get rid of him while also gaining somebody to your roster, without even giving him any picks, like, they still have so many assets to go get another big, or get a Markkinen type, or a Bridges or something like that. Like,
That is still insane.
they're not
They
done.
have they have all those first round picks. They didn't give up a single one, and they
Yeah.
still got Caruso. That's pretty crazy to me.
They're gonna yeah. It's
I
they're
do
gonna make another big trade, I think.
I do think that Caruso. I mean, he's a guy that fits onto any roster. You know, off the bench, just
Yeah.
a guy that can give you that 3-and-D aspect from the point guard position. Pretty rare. A guy
Yeah.
that can go out and defend. Really go out and defend guys that are bigger than him too. I mean, people underestimate the impact this guy has on the defensive end, and probably not a starter for them, but a guy that can give them really impactful minutes and replaces Giddey, who they were going to probably move on from after this year. So nice pickup there for OKC. I mean, Chicago, I don't know. I think Chicago, they're going to be in a rough spot for the next couple of years, but I do think it's good to see that I think they're leaning towards a rebuild. I hope they're leaning towards a rebuild. I hope that they
better
move off.
be.
Do you think that they actually do move off of Levine here and probably let DeRozan walk, maybe move off of Vucevic? How do you think that they approach these next couple of weeks leading up to the draft?
See, what I think they should do is trade everything, tear down completely, get rid of Zach LaVine, get rid of all these guys. What they're probably going to do is your cameras off, is trying to compete, compete, because that's what the Bulls, they're doing. They don't want to rebuild. They want to just fill seats and sell tickets. And they're going to probably try and build a little bit along the side too. They're probably going to pay Patrick Williams too much money. I think like Charlotte might try and prime away, and they're just going to match it. Like it's a shit show in Chicago right now, and it's a shame because it's a great franchise with amazing fans, and they're just being completely shot on by their front office and by their ownership.
And another team in the East gets worse, and another team in the West gets better, man. Yeah, the West is going to be insane. next year. We'll talk about that more as this
Yeah.
goes on. But I mean, there's
Yep.
teams. I think they should just restructure the NBA. No more Eastern or Western Conference. This is unfair, man.
Of course you'd want that, bro.
Too many good teams in the West, man. Anyways, let's get to the draft. Draft coming up here soon. What's today? 21st? Next
It's on
Thursday.
Thursday. Yep.
Oh, pretty much a week from today. Different format for the draft too this year. 2 days. Pretty interesting. I mean, who really wants to watch the second day? Come on, bro. Let's get it done.
I might. What depends. I might.
Like, if they're gonna do
I
a
watched
second,
the first.
they might as well just add another round. Then, if you're gonna do a third round, if you're gonna add a second day, like, what is
Yeah.
that?
Okay. Well, I'll talk about my big board.
Yeah, let's see the
I'll
updated.
go through. So I had my before it was mock drafts I have, and now I have my full big
Oh,
board.
we got the
30
big board
players.
here. So
Yeah.
just for the listeners at home, if you're listening, big board is just like a list of the best
ranking.
players ranked.
Yeah.
He's ranking who he thinks. If there was no fit with a team, he's saying this is the first, second, third, fourth best player. A mock draft is a little different because you're looking at fit. You're looking at what the team actually has. So this is just a ranking of the players. Alex, give us your big board here a week out from the draft.
So, Klingon is my number one prospect overall. He's my first number one pick too. I think he's the sure thing in this draft. He's a legitimate 7'2", massive rim protector. You're not gonna get. He's the closest thing to he's gonna be a good starter, I think, for sure, no matter what situation he goes to. And I think you got to kind of take that in this draft and just accept it. And I think for Atlanta it does work too.
I think everyone acknowledges the floor of being a guy that can at least be a rim protector, rim run, whatever. What do you see as the ceiling for him? Obviously, you don't know the fit yet because you don't know where he's going.
Yeah.
What do you see as the ceiling for him going forward?
I think a legitimate 15 and 12 kind of guy with two blocks or something. I think that's his ceiling, where he's an elite defensive guy. He's never going to be your number one option offensively. He's just not that skilled. But he can pass. He can really pass, and he can make plays and stuff like that. Good screener. Good. He's been solid. He showed post flashes. He wasn't amazing at UConn in the post, but he showed flashes. So I think he can legitimately be a third option, and while giving elite defense, like a better Rudy Gobert offensively, and then probably not as special defensively, but still really elite. Still an all defense potential, I think, with him. So, yeah, I'm a big fan, and I think he's probably the number one prospect in this draft. After that, I have Alex Sarr. I talked about him before. He's complete upside. He's the most upside probably in this draft, at least the most obvious upside. Where this guy, he moves amazingly, but he just struggles to. He doesn't have the best offensive game, but he has flashes. Everything with him is just these little spurts. He plays in Australia. I don't know. I have him going second to the Wizards just because I think the Wizards need upside and they need a big.
Rumors of Sarr denying the Hawks here. Do you make anything of that, or do you think it's just kind of smoke before the draft?
I thought he's still in Australia, right? That wasn't him denying them. I thought he just couldn't work out.
Yeah, well, there's people taking that as he doesn't want to be drafted by Atlanta at 1. He's denying the Hawks, whatever. Do you make anything of that or no?
I feel like he's a good fit there. So I don't know for him as a player. I feel like it would fit him to go there because he wouldn't have to. He'd fit really well alongside Trey, I think. But hey, he doesn't fuck with Trae Young either. But but yeah, I mean, it's a bit weird, but whatever. It's up to him, right? Next, I have Castle from UConn. I love him again as a floor guy. He's going to be an elite defender. No, he's going to be able to do everything really well, I think. He might not be elite in any skill, but he's going to be a really well-rounded player. And that's just what I see out of him. And if his shot comes along, he's going to be a really good kind of big guard or a point forward type of guy who's going to be a starter on a really good team. And then maybe, I don't think he probably has all-star upside, but he definitely has really good upside.
Feels like a guy he feels like a guy that can fit in a lot of different.
Yeah, he's going to be in the league for 10 plus.
A lot of different. Yeah.
And I have him mocked at 7, actually. I have him falling a little bit because of the upside. I think he's going to go 7 to the Trailblazers, which I think is a great fit there. Put him alongside more offensive guards and Shaden Sharp and Anthony Simons and Scoot and all that stuff. I think he's a good fit. We'll also be able to ball handle a bit too and get some reps there. All right, number 4, I have Buzelis. I'm a big fan of Buzelis. I mean, actually, I developed I was first a little bit low on him, but I mean, listening to the interviews with him, and I think he has the best mentality in the draft, and I think he's a real killer, and I think that really does mean something, especially, and I think he has the upside. He has if he just figures out his shot, which he kind of struggled in the G League, but he was great in high school. If he figures that out, he could be a legitimate scorer and like a dominant offensive guy, and probably the best offensive player in this draft. I haven't mocked to. I haven't. Let's see. Um, I haven't mocked at 5. And also, my apologies. Stephon Castle is mocked at 6 for me. I'm not the Trailblazers. He's to the Hornets. But that's a good fit. I was looking at the wrong mock. I was looking at last week's mock. Yeah, I mocked at 6 to the Hornets. Sorry, but my throat is dry as fuck right now. I don't know why. Damn. Oh, it's at 5 to the Pistons. I'm a fan of that. Okay, next I have Topic. Obviously the Serbian guard. Super great playmaker. Some questions about the ACL, but I'm not that worried about it. I think he'll fall though because of the ACL. I think he's going to the Spurs at 8. Next we
Conveniently
have
falls to your team.
Yeah, I know, right? Wow, look at that. But next I have I'll list a few guys actually in order. So I have Reed Shepherd at 6, Reza Shea at 7, Jared McCain at 8, Ron Holland at 9, and Dalton Connect at 10. With Reed Shepherd, I'm a bit worried about the defensive stuff with him because little guys like him kind of get punished in the postseason. But he's a really high floor. Like I've mocked the Rockets, and I think that's a great fit because of he can kind of develop behind Van Vliet, and when they move off of Van Vliet at some point, he can take over as the guy there. So I think it's a good fit for him. Reza Shea, I'm not high on him at all. The Spurs love him apparently, but so maybe he'd fit alongside Wemby. But I haven't mocked to the Trailblazers, which is I just don't see him. He doesn't really know how to. He doesn't really score without jump, like catch and shoot, like creating his own shot. The defensive stuff seems weird. The measurements are bad. It just screams bust to me. So I'm pretty low on him. I'm going 7 to the Trailblazers because he is still a pretty good prospect, like in this draft class, right? Next, let's see, McCain. I love McCain. I think he's going 10 to the Jazz. I think he's going to be a great fit next to Keontae George in the backcourt. Just as like this combo guard, he's a bit undersized, but I think the defense makes up for it. I think he's a good shooter. All that stuff. Who else was there? And then Ron Holland.
Ron Holland. You had Ron Holland.
Yeah, Ron Holland and then Connect.
Yeah,
Ron Holland and Connect. Ron Holland. Yeah, really. I haven't gone to the Grizzlies. I think the Grizzlies are going to actually trade up and try and get a Klingon or another big in this draft. But I'd right there. I had him going there. Just this big athlete, amazing athlete, but kind of hasn't really developed the skill aspect of it yet. But still, cool prospect. And then Connect going 11 to the Bulls. This is before the Caruso trade. So maybe they don't need another guard, but they love their guards, so maybe they'll take him, put him at the 3. I don't know. And then I'll just quickly go through. I'll just start listing the big board. I don't need to do the draft stuff for them. So Dillingham at 11, Cody Williams at 12, Tidwayne Salon, the French guy. I've been going really high. I've been going 4th to the Spurs, but he's only 13 on my big board just because I don't see the upside with him just yet. I think he's really raw, and I don't know if I want to believe in that necessarily yet. But 14 is Devin Carter, and that fills out like the top 14. And then I'll do some highlights. I have Collier at 17.
Collier,
USC,
a guy that
pretty high
came into this year, college year at least, being projected as a top 5 pick. I'll let you talk about it a little bit more, but at least watching him at USC, you could definitely see why scouts were high on him coming into the year. The size, the measurables, the ability to play on both ends. But I'll let you talk about him a little bit more.
Okay, yeah. But I just like him as the upside. I like him, how physical he is. I like the way I think his shot will come about in the right situation. And I think he just needs to be able to play off of guys and not have the whole responsibility be on him. Because that USC
By the way,
team
did you mention who has the 17th pick?
Lakers.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
And I don't, but I think that would be a bad fit for him.
That would be a range. I'm just saying there have been a couple, mocks where I've seen Collier being projected.
Yeah.
I think it would be an interesting fit because he doesn't have that shot, but he does fill a need of defense. So if they saw him as a guy that could come off the bench and give them some defense, at the guard position, then maybe, hey, I don't hate it.
Yeah. Let's see. I also have Baylor Shireman out of Creighton.
Hmm.
Just I think one of the best shooters in the draft, arguably the best shooter. I think it's him and Reed Shepherd are the best shooters. I love the team at the bottom, like a real contender to go up and pick him up. I think he can give you like impact minutes right away. Just as with his shooting ability, I think he has Grayson Allen type of upside. Where these experienced guys out of college just can hit fucking shots. And I really believe in him with his shot and that translating to the NBA. And then let's see. Is anyone else want to talk about? Nikola Jurcic. I think he could be one of the best players in this draft. I'm on my big board at 20. I think he has this insane upside. He's on the same team as Topic, so he doesn't get as much attention as Topic does. But he just has these flashes of just like brilliance. So I'm high on him too. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think before the draft I might like post the whole thing maybe, but I don't know. We'll see.
So after listing out your big board, I don't want to, like force you to make any crazy prediction, but if you have to pick, one guy that you think is going to maybe overperform his draft position, be kind of a gem out of this draft class, who do you think is maybe a little bit lower on your big board, but could definitely make that jump and be a player that really surprises people?
I think Yves Misi from Baylor. I think he's someone that could have a Derek Lively impact right away. He's only at 22 on my board. Because he's still very raw, but if he's able to figure it out and is able to be an elite rim protector from day one, he's able to figure out his free throw a little bit more, so he's not so hackable. He could legitimately be like, he could have a lively type of impact on a contending team. So maybe I've seen Memphis pick him up, or who needs bigs? Any team that really needs a big guy, like especially with the West being so big heavy with Jokic and Wemby and the Minnesota team, like you need bigs, I think, to contend with that. And I think if the Warriors can maybe get him, I think they have a pick, right? I might be forgetting.
I think the Warriors
did they pick?
Well, they were gonna really pick, but they didn't. It was like protected or something that they didn't get that.
Well, if they can trade back into the draft and pick him up, he'd be an amazing fit, I think. But yeah, I don't have the order in front of me real quick. But let me just get it up, because I think if a team can get him in like the 20s or something, that'd be an insanely good pick.
And then you know where I'm going with the opposite end of this.
The Suns. I think the Suns would be amazing for the Suns if they can pick him up. But yeah, go ahead.
Move off Nurkic probably there. And bring him in. But I don't want you to, say anyone's gonna be a bust. But if there's one player that you think probably gonna disappoint based on his draft position, do you have anyone in mind for that?
I think the most obvious bust, in my opinion, is probably going to be Sarr, just because he's so raw. It really is like high risk, high reward with him. I'd also say Ricochet because of the measurements, and like he doesn't have the vibe. Like he's this guy who's a shooter, but that's all he kind of does, but the shooting isn't even that great. He can catch and shoot pretty well, but he doesn't really like create his own shot. Like that's something that really worries me with him. Where you're going to pick a guy like first overall who can't create his own shot, or doesn't seem to have the upside to. And then his measurements, where he's a small wingspan, he's not the fastest or the strongest. That's concerning as well. He just screams bust to me. That's why I really would avoid drafting him in the top 5 if possible. I think this draft is forgiving though, because everyone knows it's such a bad draft. That like,
when you say bad draft. I think there are a couple, like low ceiling, high floor guys. Do you think that it's important to prioritize guys that are sure things in this draft, or would you maybe say, listen, if other people are going to, prioritize the sure things, maybe we could take a big swing on some of the guys that have potential and get one of, a guy that maybe
I think it depends on the team,
draft and a guy ends up being all-star. Do you see GMs trying to be more safe in this draft just because, there's an acknowledgement of there's not a lot of upside here? Or do you think, GMs are going to be like trying to reach, those gems because they believe other GMs are going to be safe for their picks?
I think it depends on the team and what they need. I think this is going to be a big need draft. So if you need potential, if you need upside, you're going to go for your upside guys. And if you're a contending team, you're going to look for your role players. So there is tons in this draft. There's tons of valid role players. You can be valuable and can maybe give you minutes from day one. We saw that with last year's draft, guys like Hawkes and Paul Jemski in the middle of the first round who Lakers did not pick up. that did great and obviously were very effective. And I think that there's always guys in the draft. Every year, there's always second round guys who perform or undrafted guys who perform. So we'll just see who those guys are. And yeah, I think it's gonna be a better draft than people think in terms of like actual players. But the upside, like, there's no all stars in the draft, I don't think, unless Buzelis goes insane or Sar develops offensively, all that stuff. That's my team.
Well, as we wrap up here, you know what I just realized? This is the
What's up?
19th episode of the Before the Buzzer podcast. So maybe episode 20 draft special. Who knows? We'll put
Oh
something.
my god, bro. Okay.
Anyways, pretty crazy. We actually are one episode away from reaching 20. But as always, we thank you for listening to episode 19 of the Before the Buzzer podcast. We're one man short here. Cheyenne dipped on us.
Yep.
It's just us two to close this one out. Follow us on all platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok. Maybe we should make like a Twitter. That'd be kind of insane. Anyways, drop
Don't give me access to that shit.
Drop a follow. Let us know what you guys want to hear from going forward this offseason. Obviously, content becomes a little bit, more crazy because we're in the offseason.
Yeah. Just wait, I have ideas.
Covering, the NBA specifically games. So lots of content, though. Don't worry. We're going to have crazy content coming this summer. Crazier than we've done.
The buzzer ain't sounding on the Before the Buzzer podcast.
Hey, the buzzer might have sounded on the NBA season, but we're before the next buzzer, right?
Yeah.
Before the 2025 season. We'll be back for another great year, but don't go anywhere. Off-season content will be great. Once again, you have to drop a follow, though, to get access to that content, right?
On God.
Anyway, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Great episode today.
Yep.
See you. Have a great day.